Hello, welcome back to another video. I know I had a little bit of a break there for some time, but the reason for that is that I had a little vacation. Last week I flew down to Florida to attend the original Art Expo, OAX, run by Bill Cox from Comic Art Fans. I went down a couple days early. I had some a friend down there, visited his family a few days before the show, and then drove into Orlando to attend OAX. And so today, what I wanted to do was talk about some of the things that I picked up at the show. Talk a little bit about the show itself, but I don't want to get too much into it, just because there's a lot to talk about. And I have a lot of art, surprisingly more art than I intended to pick up, but definitely some cool finds. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. I don't. So before the show, there was one of the main reasons I wanted to go was I thought it was a great opportunity to meet up with fellow collectors, but also some friends that I've had in the hobby for a long time that I've interacted with online, sent messages through, had lengthy messenger chains that we just kind of touch base frequently about just comic art and whatnot, but that have become really good friends. So I'm going to meet a few of them for the first time in person, and also some friends that I've met through the hobby that I've already met in person. So it was a really great time to just connect. The show itself, real quick before I get into the art, it was focused mainly on comic art, and it's just a great opportunity. That the show it was their first year doing it, and it was a good intimate feel. The artist to attendee ratio was really great. The access to the artists was, you could stand and have lengthy conversations if you wanted to. There were some lines at times. They did a free sketch event on Sunday for a little bit, but other than that, lines were very minimal. It was a great first outing for this show, and I hope to attend it again, and hope they keep this going. But anyway, I just wanted to jump into it. I had one big commission that I'll save for the end that I had set up prior to going to the show, and it's by one of my all-time favorites. Spoiler alert. But I'll do that towards the end. But then I'll just kind of start off with another artist that I have talked about on this channel before, and that artist is Chris Stevens. He was at the show. Felix through Felix Comic Art had met Felix for the first time. That was cool. So Chris Stevens was there. He's the I own the Gunslinger Spawn cover that he did for Gunslinger Spawn 21. So he actually had some prints there, and now, do I really need a print based on the cover that I own the original art for? The answer is no. However, I did want to kind of support him. He was able to do these limited run print of some of his Spawn covers, but as you can see in the corner, it kind of blends in kind of nicely. But it's a medieval Spawn remark that I asked him to do on this print, because the two Spawn designs that I really love are Gunslinger Spawn and Medieval Spawn, and this is based kind of more of a classic look with the sides of the helmet were a little taller. Now it's a little the current design is more truncated and short. But yeah, I just love how he said he went a little too. Usually his remarks really pop off of the prints, but he said he had a lot of fun just blending it in. And really, if you didn't know that was a remarked print, this helmet it just blends into the design. So I personally really enjoy that. He apologized. He said, maybe it doesn't pop as much. And I said, you know what, I love that. That's very cool. So, but yeah, it's just a signed and numbered print that I had him add the Medieval Spawn to. So, yeah, just another way to maybe sneak that art somewhere else in the house. So, and then the next artist that I got some pieces from was a really fun discovery. He's an artist that's new on the scene, and I like being able to do that when the art speaks to me and then the price is right. These were some inexpensive commissions that I set up with him. But keeping with the Gunslinger Spawn theme, The artist's name is Maxi Dallow. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. He is repped by Splash Page Comic Art, run by Mark Hay, and I met Mark for the first time at the show. That was really cool. So Maxi, I know that Mark had offered some sketch opportunities from Maxi, I think, at the last Comic Art Live event in November. But I wasn't, I wasn't really looking to pick up anything during that show, so it wasn't really on my radar. And then I know he was announced as a guest that was there, but again, I wasn't, leading up to the show, I wasn't paying too much attention to the other names that I wasn't as familiar with. But as I got closer to the show, I was doing a little bit of digging, and then Maxi also submitted a piece for the art auction that they had on Saturday night at the show, and really really nice slice of life piece with Spider-Man and Mary Jane, just enjoying a meal on a rooftop, and it just was really really fun. It had a good modern art feel, but still had a nice, joyous emotions that were coming out of it. So what I did, I reached out to Mark right before the show. A friend of mine who I also saw at the show, Matt, he had set up a Transformers commission with Maxi, and we were kind of chatting before the show. And I was like, I really should jump in. So I did. I arranged a Gunslinger Spawn commission. Shocker. And what I asked for was, to kind of stay in that slice of life kind of vein that I liked in the Spider-Man piece. I asked for a Gunslinger Spawn in an Old West saloon, just to kind of, kicking back or, whatever. That was the only prompt I gave him. I gave him a Gunslinger Spawn in a saloon. And yeah, this is what it came up with. So it's Gunslinger Spawn. With the drink in his hand, just finished up dealing with some type of trouble. Probably somebody came to him in the bar, and he handled his business. But I love the addition of the bartender there. Kind of his surprise, like, oh, I just witnessed that. But yeah, I love this kind of. I thought his style with kind of like the brush work and the ink brush work that I had seen in the Spider-Man piece, I thought that would lend itself well to an Old West setting, and I think I was right. Right, I think it's pretty good. I really enjoy this piece for sure. The Gunslinger Spawn with the put him up here with the cigarette in the mouth. It makes no sense. I mean, it's been done before. This isn't the first time. It doesn't make any sense through the mask, but you know what? I don't care. I always think it looks cool, and I think it looks cool here. But yeah, so this one. So I arranged the commission maybe a few days before the show because Mark was promoting that he had more spots available, some more commission spots available. Matt, my buddy, picked one up, and then I said, okay, so I jumped on board then, and this was maybe like 2 or 3 days before the show, and then a day after that, which was maybe like Tuesday of that week, Tuesday or Wednesday, somewhere in there. I got an email from Mark. It was the day after I set it up, paid for it, and Maxi was done. So he knocked it out in a day. So I had a scan of it, so I knew what I was going to be picking up once I got to the show. And then I saw it in person and really, really enjoyed it. So what do you do when that happens? And I had the rest of the weekend, and Maxi had more availability. I got another one from him. So I went more to. I had two ideas when I initially had emailed Mark. I had two concepts in mind, and the Gunslinger speaks more to my existing collection. So I went that route because I do try to keep things curated a bit. But seeing the Spider-Man pieces that he had done, and he had done some other ones. There's some other commissions listed on CAF. I had to go with the Spider-Man piece. I don't have a lot of Spider-Man art. I can't say that Spider-Man is my favorite, but I mean, who doesn't love Spider-Man? But anyway, so the concept was to stick with the slice of life kind of flavor. I asked for Spider-Man buying a hot dog in New York City. So what he came up with, really fun. So it's Spider-Man on his way on his way during a busy day. There's some chaos going on back here, but it's Spider-Man swinging in real quick. Got some nice speed motion lines on the one leg there. He's like, "Hey, I'm busy day, but I'm hungry." So he swings down, grabs a quick hot dog before he goes and deals with that emergency there. So yeah, again, I just you know I just love these kind of pieces. I love the kind of Spider-Man is the everyday hero. He's the everyday guy. So I tend to enjoy the pieces that are a little more casual related to Spider-Man. Not always the fighting and it's fun. I mean, you can get some really dynamic Spider-Man poses, but this is a big part of what I'm drawn to with Spider-Man. The charm of the character, just that he's just everyday guy. So, yeah, thrilled with how this one came out, and I'm really excited to see where Maxie's career goes. He'd done some children's book illustrations, and he worked on some other graphic novels, some kind of indie stories. There was one that was kind of like a western apocalypse kind of a story that looks kind of interesting. So that was from a couple of years ago, maybe like 2020. But that's something I want to check out. But I definitely think there is room for him in this industry, and I really hope to see his career kind of take off, because I really enjoy what he is bringing. So yeah, that was really cool. He also did they did a free sketch event, like I said earlier, during the show, and that one I didn't really want like too many free sketches. I mean, free is nice, but that was towards the end of the day on Sunday, and by then I had gotten a lot of the stuff from a lot of the artists that I wanted to get from. But there were some others that I didn't get a chance to get to their table. I know Ken Lashley. I would like to stop by at his table, but every time I stopped by, there were people there, and given the nature of the show, I didn't want to really interrupt anybody. Um, uh, but yeah, anyway, so there were some places I didn't go, but for the free sketch event, I just there were a lot of lines, and I didn't want to deal with that too much. Like I said, towards the end of the show, I'd gotten pieces from the people that I wanted to, that I really, really needed from, that some pieces I didn't have before. So anyway, but I'll throw it there. I forgot to bring it out here with me, but Maxie gave me I stopped by and he said, "Hey, did you get a free sketch?" And I said, "No, that's okay. I had the other two pieces, but he had a couple pre-done things that he had drawn when he had some free time. So it's another Spider-Man little headshot, which is just fun, and it was very kind. He didn't need to do that, but he wanted to make sure that I had one, and I thought that was really kind of him. So I will definitely be keeping tabs on his career, and I already have some other ideas for some commission pieces, but gotta restock the war chest a bit. So I'll wait for that. But so another artist that I picked up some stuff from was an artist that I've been aware of for the past year or so, as his profile continued to rise within the comic art collecting community. But I swore I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna jump in. It's one of those, like, I initially was like, oh, this is trendy. This is I just don't want to. I don't want to do it. And I knew he was going to be at the show, and I still was like, no, I can't. I don't want to do it. Well, whatever. Obviously, you know where this is going. But I jumped on board the Mannix craze. So I've loved his colors on his pieces are amazing. They're quirky. They're charming. They're just so unique to look at. And it's rare that like something like that. I mean, it happens, but when it happens, it's immediately like, okay, that is something different. That is something cool. And yeah, so leading up to the show, I had picked up. He did a series of stories. 12 and 14 are these graphic novels that he did, and they're all they're just wordless stories. They're the whole thing is just told through visual pictures. No words in both of them, and they're just very intriguing. Um, anyway, so what I had seen a lot of people do, and they're very cool, but uh, he does a lot of superhero versions in his style, and they're smaller pieces. I mean, they range different sizes, um, but they're all so intricate. There's a lot of background detail that he puts into them, and he does different really interesting layouts. So I've seen a lot of superhero versions of his work, and I wanted to kind of, to stay away from that a little bit, because when I look at his art, to me it screams, like pop art, and I wanted to kind of lean to go like a different direction. I've seen him do some work like this, but uh, what I reached out right before the show, and again there were still spots available, and I'll tie it into another story. I'll tell in a minute after talking about Mannix. But so I had reached out and I said, are there any spots still available? And there were. So I went with another one of my kind of like sub themes in my collection, away from superheroes, but the subject of Frankenstein. I think Frankenstein's a really cool. It's a well, Frankenstein's monster, but property and a character that a lot of people know. It's very his image just exists in pop culture, and it's almost instantly recognizable. You see those black and white images of Boris Karloff as the monster, and it just lives in the public domain. So so my request was for a Frankenstein's monster piece in Mannix style. So what I have is this right here. So you can see just the Frankenstein's monster with all the lab equipment in the back, and yeah, initially I'd set it up for a larger size. He has a more of a like an 8.5 by 11 type size, but he ended up doing it on this the smaller size. But it still has all of this the intricate lab equipment, and the consistent coloring, and then the fine lines on top of the watercolors. I watched him work a little bit during the convention, and he builds the image, lays down the color, and then goes back on top and does some fine line work on top of the color that they laid down. So it was really fun to kind of watch him build up these pieces. I'll put an image here. So at first I was like, okay, so I was expecting a more like really colorful piece. I'm not disappointed in this at all, because I think it fits the prompt that I gave him, and I love it. I love how the blue the blue and the gray, even though it's a lighter gray, it pops off of the piece. And I actually enjoy that he went the gray route to kind of keep it more in the original movie feel, instead of like because I was anticipating, because he's known for color, I thought maybe he would do a more of like a green green skin on the monster to make him pop a little more. But I'm actually really surprised and happy he went with this route, because it's just, I love it. It's not what I was expecting, but I absolutely love it. But this is where I think the sweet spot for me is, once I kind of made that pop art connection and thought, well, if I go a different route other than superheroes, that got me excited to think, okay, well, what are the possibilities for Mannix in different movies that I really enjoyed. So happy accident, because since it was supposed to be larger size, that's naturally more expensive. But I'd budgeted the money to put towards some Mannix. So since it was done on a smaller size, speaking with Jiggy, as I picked it up, Jiggy is he's with Next Comic Art, and that's who reps Mannix and another stable of artists. But I was talking. I was like, hey, well, I have this money budgeted, so how about we do another one if he has the availability? And they said, yeah, great, let's do it. So I did another one in this size. So if you can peek over my shoulder, take a guess what my next. If I went, Frankenstein is my first choice. Another property that I thought would look fantastic in his style, to see his interpretation of that, is Planet of the Apes. I talked to him and I said, this is great. I love the Frankenstein piece. I said, but if you could take Planet of the Apes and make that like a really colorful piece, like that would be great. I'd have like the best of both worlds. Good example with a more a muted color palette, and then one with like a really vibrant colors. So this I watched him, throughout the show. This was on Sunday. That I set it up on Saturday, and then I watched it at his table. I would walk back and forth kind of on Sunday. I'd pass by and watch him kind of create this from the ground up, and it was really cool. I mean, he set it aside every once in a while because he was working on other pieces and all of the paint or the paint dried, and but to see it come to life as I walk by, I have a couple pictures I think I'll put on there after I show this piece though, but. Yeah. So I went with, classic Planet of the Apes. But what I love here is just, and I love the idea of giving him a movie prompt because he could tell the story of the movie in this really great layout. And I've seen some other pieces that he's done that has this kind of like large half of head of a character with some vignettes or other pieces on the other side of the piece. But yeah, so you've got Taylor's ship there from the original film, and then you've got some humans running away from the ape characters, like silhouettes in the background there. But my gosh, like the way this all I'll put it here, the way this all came together and the layout of this and like I understand why people are so fixated and excited about Mannix's art. Yeah, I'm I'm on Team Mannix now. I really enjoy it. Now you gotta be careful. You don't want to get too deep. I mean, you can if this is what you want your focus to be. But I've already thought of like some other movies that would be really cool to kind of see him tackle. But when the opportunity is there, I'll maybe reach out again and go this route again. But for right now, I'm really happy with the two that I landed on. I like the happy accident of I was supposed to have one larger Frankenstein piece, but ended up with two smaller, very different examples of his work from two properties that I very very much enjoy. So yeah, so that was really cool. So the other piece that I don't have before I move into some other things, there was and what I'll do. Well, let me explain. So I picked up a piece. It was Todd McFarlane has been doing that Spawnuary, open artist challenge to have artists do pieces based on Spawn. I mean, it's brilliant marketing. But he reached out and said, put the challenge out there to have artists do interpretations of Spawn. He gave them 4 separate prompts. Like it was Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, Scorched, and then I think the 4th week was just any villain from the Spawn universe. And had artists submit them, put them on social media, and then they're going to take a few of those and make them publish covers. So there's been a lot of really fun, and Spawn is always the stories are hit or miss, but what's always consistent is the art. I mean, McFarlane has an eye for talent, and so there's always great Spawn art, Spawn covers. The interiors are always great artists, but so there's been a lot of really cool gunslinger images, and there's one that popped up that really caught my eye. A friend of mine, Matt, actually, Matt Todd, he's the one who sent it to me initially, through seeing it on social media, and then I was like, oh man, that is really cool. If that one ever pops up, maybe I'll, I didn't want to reach out and make sure it was available, but I thought, well, if the opportunity's ever there, then maybe I'll, go for it. So the opportunity was there. It was listed for sale, and I jumped on it. And it's another artist through Jiggy's Next Comic Art stable. So I set that up. I paid for it, and I was going to pick it up at OAX, and I did pick it up at the show. But I only had an 11x17 portfolio, and the art is just a little wider. I was going to take a bigger, wider portfolio, but it didn't fit in the bag that I was going to take, and I didn't want to get a new bag. So anyway, so luckily Matt had a larger size portfolio, so he so graciously took that home with him, and he's going to ship it to me. So we'll do that on a future unboxing video. So we'll make a video from that, and then we'll talk about more about that piece at that time. But yeah, so that was when I purchased that piece, and then I also asked Jiggy, are there any more Mannix spots available? And that's how that got that ball rolling. So the next thing before I jump into uh, the, uh, the big pickups for the show, I mean, um, I've never done a sketchbook, and the vibe of this show was one that I thought really would be great for a sketchbook opportunity. So yeah, my voice, nothing from like the show being so fun and lots of talking, sharing of stories, laughing. My voice is shot from the weekend, and it's now I keep talking more, and yeah, so it was a great time. Fully recommend anybody if they're thinking about it next year, go to the show. It was a great time. Anyway, so the sketchbook. I like the idea of sketchbook, but I didn't want it to be just a I never thought of a good reason to have a sketchbook, or never a good theme that I wanted to do. And another friend of mine, Bill Byers, who actually met for the first time at the show, great time hanging out with him. I've known him for years online, but finally getting able to meet in person was a great opportunity. He has a Death and Return of Superman sketchbook that he started a little bit ago, and it's just he's have artists do different panels of their interpretation. So take panels from that story and then do their interpretation of that, and then he's trying to put them in chronological order. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's a cool cool project. So it got me thinking, like, what would I do if I really wanted to do like a sketchbook theme? And similarly to what I did with Mannix, I went with a movie theme. So I thought, oh, I'll just make a list of movies that I really enjoy, and then talk to the artists and see what might fit, and then what they want to do. So that's what I did. The first one I got in the book was Chris Stevens was there. He was doing remarks like he did on the Gunslinger print that I bought. But I also asked him. I said, "How about again? How about Planet of the Apes?" So you do like a remark of whatever character you want to do from the classic Planet of the Apes series. So what he did was this, which is like a General Ursus, the character General Ursus from the series. Really cool villain that was introduced in the second movie, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. But yeah, I love the look of him, just the kind of militant general. I'll put a picture over there too. But I loved, and again, it was fun watching him, build this up, lay the colors down, and then add the white detail on top of it. There was a basic sketch there, and then he put some the color on it, and then it was just cool to see it be built up and come to life. I didn't stay at his table the whole time, but it was a very small. I mean, it was like a ballroom of a hotel, so it was kind of easy to kind of walk around and keep tabs, and so it's kind of fun to just see that come to life. And I'll share some process shots. It was really cool. His wife was there with him, and she texted me a bunch of process shots as he was doing it. So I'll kind of have those going on while I'm talking about this. So that was really cool. So that was a great start off to my book. And then the next piece that I had, some artists that I've enjoyed for years. Matt Wagner was at the show, and this is of a movie that I don't have anything. I don't think no, I don't no. Don't have anything from, but I've always enjoyed the universe of Kevin Smith's movies, like Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, and the common thread in those are Jay and Silent Bob. And Matt Wagner did some work with the View Askew, Kevin's View Askew, back in the '90s. So there was a comic cover that he did that I always enjoyed. So I thought, how about a Jay and Silent Bob piece? So he did this for me. So I got Jay and Silent Bob, Snoochie Boochies, and then the "Fuck Me, I'm from Jersey" T-shirt that was very in line with Jay and the pot leaf, and then you got Silent Bob there. So this was really fun to kind of watch him again. you're able to. I didn't want to hover the whole time, but it was fun to kind of go back and just watch what he was doing. So this one came out great. He had a lot of fun. He had fun doing it, and yeah. So it's not one that I see a lot him do a lot of pieces for, but it fits my taste, my taste. So it fits in this sketchbook. So the next one I did was Sean Murphy was there, and his Batman White Knight stuff is amazing. He was doing remarks. Well, they started out as like $100 remark, and then he put so much detail into, again, Matt Todd. Matt got an Optimus Prime piece that was really cool, but he put so much detail and work into it that they upped the price, and which was fine. These were $200 sketches, but it's way more than a remark. He took some time for sure on these. So the prompt on this one, again, a little bit of a theme. I didn't do Planet of the Apes because I had Chris Stevens do that, but I went with Frankenstein. So this is one that he said he really enjoyed doing. This was on Saturday, and on Sunday I'd stop by to get some books signed from him, and he said that this was one of his favorites from the show to do, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. So I'm glad we landed on this Frankenstein prompt. He said no one's ever asked him to do like a Frankenstein piece before. And again, I'll put some stuff here. It was so much fun. I mean, that was like the big part of the show. It was fun to watch these pieces come to life, and really cool. So I was really happy with this one. I think the prompt of Frankenstein fits his style nicely. I mean, it was fun to see him put the castle on there, lay down he did some Sharpies and some paint first, and then added the details on. So yeah, it just was so much fun to see it built up. But he clearly had fun with that. And then the last one I got in the sketchbook was this is a painter I've enjoyed seeing his work at other cons, online. Just never did anything, but it's Tony Moy. And stopped by his table. Bill was getting a Superman piece in his sketchbook, and so I dropped off mine as well. And, I just done a Planet of the Apes, so I didn't want to do that again. But also, Bill had said, what about King Kong? I was like, oh, of course. I planned to do a list of movies that I really was going to hit, but I never got around to making lists. So when it was time to talk with Tony, I was like, oh, wait, what do I want to get? But it landed on King Kong. And he did this painted King Kong piece, which is, again, super fun, super cool. He said, when it was done, he was like, I know it's like kind of crazy color choices for King Kong, and I was like, no, I love it. Like I didn't have any preconceived notions going into when I asked for this. I want artists to just be given the prompt, and then wherever that takes you, like do whatever you want. So I'm extremely happy with this one. It's just a good watercolor piece, King Kong. So yeah, those are. I mean, yeah, just staring at the colors here again. Like I just love how it's just a varied color palette throughout this, and a kind of a more subdued, calm Kong, which is sold through the colors of the piece. So love it. I'm happy with that. So that's my new convention project. So I know I'll add a couple of those as the shows go on. But so I had fun doing that. And but the main reason I knew that I had to go to this show was because Dan Jurgens was going to be there. So obviously, Death and Return to Superman, huge fan of Dan's work, and yeah. So I had a commission there that I was going to pick up, and it was fun. We were there Friday. We saw Dan at the hotel. We kind of chatted with him a little bit before the show, just kind of introducing ourselves. I mean, Bill had met him. I've met Dan before, but it's always in a normal convention setting where it's like very quick and hectic, and it's like thank you, and you kind of move on. But it was a great opportunity actually to chat with him just as person to person, and it was a great opportunity, and that's what this show provided, that kind of access to the artists. It was just a bunch of us. It was artists, fans, just there at the hotel. So So I was picking up the commission, and Bill and I were looking through the portfolio. Bill picked up a really really cool Doomsday cover that I was drooling over, but I picked up a page from Superman, the Doomsday Wars. So this is a story that was in 98, 99. It was a 3-issue kind of sequel to Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey, where Doomsday had been trapped at the end of time at the end of that story, but then he returned, and the kind of the basis of this story is, you see Doomsday talking there. I'll put the page up. Brainiac takes control of Doomsday's body. It's very, it's comic booky. I remember reading it. So I kind of jumped out of comics around that, right before that. So I didn't read this when it came out. I read it afterwards, and it it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. So I was kind of disappointed in it. But then I've gone back since then, and I've read it again, and I enjoy it. It's the case of like when you have expectations for something. I'd loved Death of Superman, Doomsday, Hunter Prey. I loved those, so I had high expectations. But then when it didn't meet those expectations, I was let down. But then when I went back and revisited it and read it, knowing what it was, and I could appreciate it for what it was. So anyway, so this page I thought, I was surprised to see that sitting there. Dan had said he took it to Terrificon, and he thought it would go instantly, and he was shocked that it didn't. So I was like, well, I'm glad it didn't, because I got a crack at it. So the impactful panel right away, you can tell, is just the close up of Doomsday's Brainiac Doomsday's face there. That's just like a killer panel. But to have Doomsday in each panel, you've got the background up here. Yeah, this one I hadn't planned on making another purchase with Dan, but I couldn't say no once I saw that there, and this was kind of what I was going to the show hoping to find, something that that I would want, that would fit the collection, that I had no idea that I was going to be able to find, and that's again what this show provided. So this page, really fun. Glad to add this. I'm never going to have a Dan Jurgens, Brett Breeding Doomsday page from the original Death of Superman story, but I do have a Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey page that I like. So I'm glad that I can also now add a Superman Doomsday Wars page to the collection, and one that really, this one was inked by that story was inked by Norm Rapman. So Dan and Norm are another great a great pairing. So I'm happy to add this example to the collection as well. So, all right, now the final piece. This is a long video. I apologize, but I mean, what are you gonna do? I ended up picking, I think, like 12 pieces at the show. This is the commission that I set up with Dan, and it's a layout. It's based off of an unused omnibus layout that Dan had submitted back in the day to DC as an omnibus cover that got declined. And he had posted this online, and he said it was one that he really had liked, but it didn't get chosen. So when the opportunity came to maybe get a bit of a larger piece from Dan, because usually at conventions he'll only do like a single character piece, maybe a single or two character piece with like a limited background. So I thought, well, this is a show that might, there was enough lead time. I thought maybe the opportunity is there to get something a little bigger. So this is a layout that since I knew he liked it, I thought he would want to, take a crack at it to finish it off, and he did. So we arranged it, and it is a Death and Return of Superman unused cover layout. And I was, even though I knew the layout, I'm still, blown away by this piece. The really tight pencils that, I just love his work so much. It brings back such nostalgia to my teenage years. And yeah. So in the original layout, which I can put there, the the cape wasn't there. The cape flag from Superman 75 wasn't there, but I love that he added that. And in the original design, you can see the Superman had it was a silhouette of Superman. And when I arranged to do this commission, he asked, do you want to do? I mean, I can keep the layout or keep the silhouette as is, or I could do a full Superman. And I was like, no, I keep it as is because I like that it's the silhouette of Superman that represents his death. You still have the S shield and the cape there. Um, but and that's what he said. He's like, that was the original intent, was that it just to represent his death, and he preferred it in the silhouette style, but he wanted to give me the option to change it if I wanted to, but I didn't want to. I loved it as is, and I love that it's his death, and that you have the four replacements, and they were kind of operating in his shadow. So that's, to me, like, that's what makes this layout, is it's his silhouette, it's his death. So having that and then adding in the cape flag really sells that the death aspect of it, and then having just a piece with all four of the replacements by Dan. I mean that's a dream, man. Like, I love that. And it's something that makes sense. It's part of the history of giving it a layout that he submitted. So it's tied to the publication. I mean, obviously it's not published, but it fits into the history that I'm aware of, and I enjoy. So I'm really thrilled the way this one came out. I originally, I was like, no brainer. I'm gonna have this inked by Brett Breeding, and I will. I'm still gonna have this inked by Brett. But now the debate is, uh, the goal was to definitely have Brett ink directly over the pencils, and that was the plan all along. And I wanted to have a piece with Dan and Brett on, since I have shared that Doomsday before, and it's the three stages. I wanted to have one where they worked on the same board, and I still want to go that route, but I love these pencils, man. So to cover them up seems criminal. So I'm having second thoughts about what to do. But there's no rush. I'm gonna mull it over. I chatted with Dan about it at the show, and then I've also emailed him since then, because I sent him a scan of the piece, and he shared his thoughts, and so I'm going to take those into consideration. And he made some great points. There's no wrong answer. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I'm sure. I mean, people have their opinions, but no matter which way you go, it's going to offer something different. And it's my piece. It's what I want to look at. Do I want to have a process piece with both of them to kind of compare the pencils and the inks? Do I want to have it all on one board? I mean, I started out all on one board. Then I leaned more towards Blue Line. But now as I'm talking, I kind of lean back to, having it all on one board. So anyway, there's no rush. I'll figure it out. But I'll obviously share whatever I decide. You will see in a future video, I'm sure. But yeah, so this was the main reason for attending. The great other benefit was just meeting up with fellow collectors. Like I said, I met people that I would have interacted with online. Some people that I'd never talked to before, that introduced myself, and it was just a really great laid back weekend based convention based solely on art. And they had some really cool galleries that were there. There was some 90s Marvel comic art, which was really cool to see. A lot of Kubert original art there, Adam Kubert, and it was awesome. The whole thing was put together nicely. I know this show is going to grow in the future, and I want it to grow. I want it to be successful. I want it to be a yearly thing, but I also kind of hope that it keeps a similar level of intimacy. The ability to kind of talk and interact with the artist and not feel the pressure of a line behind you, and just, it was a very relaxed atmosphere, and I thought that was fantastic. I know it was the kind of the goal going into it, and I'm glad that was the case. And yeah, so hats off to Bill Cox and Kazra for putting together this show. Um, can't wait to hopefully go back next year. And yeah, so I know this was a long video. If you made it this far, I appreciate you very much for watching all of this, listening to my voice that is shot, ramble about the comic art that I picked up and that I love. So thank you again for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.